Hi, this is Nancy McClelland with Design Inventions, and I want to share a couple of cards with you today. This first one I'm showing you is a partial die cut panel. The inspiration came from Lydia and the Dynamic Die Cuts class from Altenew Academy, and you can see that this front cover panel has not been cut all the way to the sides. It's just been cut in the center of this card. I used the layered floral A and B die, so I've used the top one and I've got the colored cardstock in below that white panel, and you can see that. But it's a really cool technique, and I've just put a simple sentiment on there. So I would suggest that you go to the Altenew Academy site and look at that class. It's a fabulous class, lots of great ideas, and Lydia is great with all those suggestions that she's got. So I had a hard decision on what I wanted to make, but I did want to show you this sample. So I have a card that I want to do today that features floating die cuts. So I have here a piece of acetate. I've got a card panel, a back piece, and my acetate is going to fit up under that top little portion. That's about a half to 5/8 of an inch up here. And that's just where you cut the card off. And it's a typical A2 card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I have a couple of pieces of paper cut here. I haven't decided if I'm going to use the backing piece or not after I get this done. So what I'm going to do is just kind of put this card together. I've got the pieces, somewhat cut, and trying to just kind of play with this because this panel is going to fit right up underneath there, and it's going to be on the front of the card. This is going to be our card front. Okay, so just be sure that you get yourself about a half an inch or more there that you can pop that and secure that acetate to that. Okay, so I'm going to start out by working with some die cuts. Okay, and I've chosen the Happy die from Altenew, and it's the Halftone Happy, and I'm just going to use the actual Happy die on the back. And I've cut some die cuts. Now you're going to have several die cuts that you're going to need, and you're going to need front ones and back ones, and we're going to attach them to the front acetate. And I've chosen a silver one to be the highlight of my card, and I've basically put some spray adhesive on the back of here. I find that's the best thing to get them attached. It's the cleanest look. You can use a liquid adhesive, but then you might have the possibility of residue. So I've just put them on this piece of wax paper, and I've sprayed my spray adhesive on there. So now we're just going to start placing some of these randomly on this acetate, and they're going to hang off the side, but we're going to be able to cut those off. So I've got the white ones that I've got here, so we can, work through this process here, and we can speed this up as we go along. It's just placing them on there quickly, trimming them out, making sure that I've got enough adhesive, having problems with that one sticking on there. I think I had some adhesive on the face of the card. So then it's time to just trim off all the edges. Sorry, some of this is out of frame. I'm working with a new camera, so I'm trying to find my little range of vision. But I've trimmed those off, and you can see how it's going to go up underneath that panel. I might not have had to put those happies all the way at the top under that acetate, but it'll work fine for this card. So now I'm going to turn it over, use the remaining ones that I've had. Now again, you have to spray on the top and the face of those extra die cuts where I sprayed on the back of the other one. So I'm just going to match them up and lay them in and put them all down. So it's just fast putting them on there, getting them down, matching them up, and then what we will do is trim them off again so that everything's clean. So now we've got this finished. It's time to just adhere it up underneath the top of this little lip of my card base. And at this point, um, I I really look at this piece of paper that I have for backer, and I really think that I want to put this piece on there. Since I've got them done, I think it's going to give the look that I want, kind of a clean and simple, just a nice background. So this is just a scrap piece of paper. So I've cut it a little larger, and then I've got these, I have to finish off this top and hide, some of my things on the inside and the outside. So I've got a couple of scrap pieces of paper here that are kind of some wood look, and a little bit that I cut off that other one, and a piece of silver, just sparkle paper like I had on my Happy. So I think those are the pieces, parts that I want to use as I build this card. So I'm going to put some adhesive on my card base and attach the uh, decorative paper inside there. I've decided that that's what I want to use. I just used a quick and easy tape runner to do that. I think this is the easiest way to do it. And I will put that panel on, and then I will have a little bit of trimming. Now when you get it in there, you're going to have to be sure that you get it close to the crease, but don't get it so far up into the crease that you won't be able to shut that card. There's, when you get that acetate on there. So I've got that on the base, and I'm just going to trim it down the side, just trim off that little excess side panel. So that's done. Just kind of pull down that top piece and make sure that it's creased really well. So now we can actually put the acetate on. And I'm going to use score tape for this. You could use a red line tape, anything like that. You can use a liquid adhesive also. But I decided that because I wanted to get this done and be able to move ahead, I'm just going to use some score tape on here. I'm going to my width was not exactly what that top panel is, so I'm going to actually put 2 layers, so I've totally covered that lip of the backing so that it'll adhere to the acetate and it won't come off. So that's the easiest thing that I find to do. And again, as I said, you could use liquid adhesive if that's what you like. I just wanted to be able to have this dry and be able to move ahead. So it will be fine. And I said once before that, I could have actually not placed that word happy all the way up to the top, because that is going to create a little bit of bulk, but it's going to work fine for this card. So that's something you can do, is just make sure that you maybe don't start your die cuts until a little lower. And you could actually do this first acetate piece first, then put your die cuts on. So now I got that glued on there really well, and just going to use a bone folder and just be sure that it's down. And you can see that, it's kind of pretty. I like the look of that. Okay, and it's sturdy, stands up, so I've got a good piece of acetate there. Now what we're going to need to do is we want to finish some of our work on the inside and the outside. So I have that piece, I have those couple of pieces of wood grain, and one of them is just a teeny bit smaller and narrower because it'll go basically on the inside, and then we'll use a little bit larger one on the outside. So for me, again, I will apply adhesive, and then I will trim off the excess. That just makes it easier for me. I find that it's less mistakes that way. And, instead of just cutting that at exactly 4 1/4, I'm able to be sure that I'm not having any raw edges. So it's just so much easier that way. So I'm going to apply this with my score tape. I would definitely use score tape or liquid adhesive for this. I just don't know that the tape runner would do, quite what you want. So I've got this larger piece, and I'm going to have to really play with it, and this is where it's important that you get it onto the side, and you can see I'm just not happy, and you just continue to work with it. But I will get it on there, press it down. Okay, now I just can trim that excess off, so I'll just trim that piece off. So that finishes that. Now what I have to do is put the other piece onto the inside. So we'll put some more score tape on, and we can put that on the inside. It's pretty easy. Once again, just covering up. What we're doing is we're covering up the raw edges. So once again, when we put the acetate on there and all the happies, we've got happies on the inside and happies on the outside. So we're just trying to make this look like a really nice, cleanly constructed card. So it looks finished with the details on the inside. So now we've got that on the inside and we've got that on the outside. Turn that over so I can actually see what I'm cutting. So we're getting down to the final parts here where I'm going to put on a piece of, again, paper. That's just a strip of extra paper that I had. And I've cut two pieces of silver, a thicker piece and a thinner piece. And I'm going to veto the thicker piece. It was just way too much. I just needed a tiny little accent. So I'm going to put that thinner piece on, and I'll just do a tiny bit of trimming on that to make sure that it's covering all the area that I want it to cover. And I'll have this piece of, you can see it's just a piece of scrap silver that I had left over there, and I'll place that on the top. So it's got its accents, and I've trimmed that off. So I'm trying to decide if I think it's done or if I'm happy with it. Do I want to put something inside? And I decided I did. So I went ahead and pulled a sentiment. There's a little stamp set called My Family. So I thought it looked happy, happy, you are my happy. So I just did a little strip of black and stamped it with Versamark and did some white heat embossing. There's a little stamp set that I had. And you can see that in my hand, I took that silver strip off. And I decided that I needed to balance it with some black. So I placed it on black, and now I'm putting it back on top of the card. So now I'm finished. I like this, the accent, and the sentiment. So thanks for stopping by and sharing this with me. Don't forget to go to Altenew Academy and look up some of the great classes.